Hey everyone, welcome. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today. Right now on The Explainer, we are plunging headfirst into something that is just truly fascinating but also uniquely challenging, visiting remote land in Alaska. If you've ever dreamt of claiming a little slice of untouched wilderness, or honestly, even if you just want to go explore a rural parcel up north, this Explainer is exactly what you need. So let's get into it. We're going to break down the absolute must-know do's and don'ts and walk through the critical prep you need to safely navigate one of the most breathtaking places on Earth.
So you might be wondering, is visiting remote Alaska kind of like a quick weekend getaway? Yeah, it's a super common misconception, but let's clear that up right out of the gate. This requires a massive mindset shift. You simply cannot treat a trip to remote Alaskan land like a breezy drive out to the countryside. We're talking towering mountains, massive forests, and literal total isolation. This isn't a casual road trip. This takes serious expedition-level preparation.
To get you totally prepped, here is our expedition itinerary for today. We'll start with the remote Alaska reality, cover what you must do before leaving civilization, tackle navigating the journey, look at inspecting the land, and finally, wrap up with respecting the environment.
All right, part one, the remote Alaska reality. This is all about getting a solid grip on the extreme isolation you're going to face. The contrast here between expectation and reality, it is pretty wild. Down in the lower 48, you just drive up to a property, right? Well, up in Alaska, paved roads are practically a luxury. Access isn't about pulling into a paved driveway. Depending on the season, your ride to the property might literally be a bush plane, a boat, an ATV, a snow machine, or just your own 2 feet hiking in. And with that kind of remote access comes some harsh realities. Picture this, you leave the main towns and boom, cell coverage? Gone. You can't just scroll your phone or call for a tow truck. Fuel stations and grocery stores could be dozens or even hundreds of miles away. And emergency services? Yeah, they're not coming right away. This is exactly why you have to plan every single tiny detail before you ever step foot out of civilization. Preparation isn't just a fun suggestion out here. It keeps you safe and actually lets you enjoy the trip instead of constantly putting out fires.
Which brings us perfectly to phase 2, before leaving civilization. This is the pre-trip planning phase, and honestly, this is where a successful trip is actually made. Before you even think about booking a flight, you've got to do the homework. Step 1, figure out your legal access and check those boundaries. Step 2, look hard at the seasonal conditions and the weather. And Step 3, figure out who owns the land surrounding your parcel. You'll also want to look into the terrain, nearby communities, and the local wildlife. Look, finding out you can't legally or physically get to your property after you've bought it or after you've traveled all the way there, that is one incredibly costly surprise.
And that brings up a massive misconception about Alaskan maps. Please do not assume a parcel is easy to access just because it looks super close to a highway on paper. It might look like it's right there, but actually getting to it could mean crossing a raging river, navigating a wetland, scaling some steep terrain, or accidentally trespassing on private property. You have got to verify legal access and hunt for those hidden topographical challenges beforehand.
Listen, even if your visit to the property is going to be really short, it still deserves serious, heavy-duty packing. Your emergency kit is quite literally your lifeline. You absolutely need first aid supplies, water purification, fire-starting materials, an emergency shelter, plenty of flashlights with extra batteries, and some basic tools. Throw in extra food and vehicle recovery gear for your driving. You're doing this so a minor setback doesn't snowball into a full-blown survival situation.
There is a fantastic rule of thumb you just need to memorize. Checking forecasts before departure helps, but you should always prepare for worse conditions than expected. Alaskan weather is wild, you guys. It changes in the blink of an eye. You could have brilliant, warm sunshine 1 minute and heavy rain, fog, or crazy winds a couple of hours later. That is exactly why dressing in waterproof layers, plus insulated boots, gloves, and extra socks is completely non-negotiable.
Okay, moving right along to phase 3, navigating the journey. We are out of the planning room and boots are on the ground.
And right away, you'll hit another hard truth. Distances across Alaska often look manageable on a map. Reality tells a different story. A 10-mile trek in Alaska is absolutely not a 10-mile stroll in Ohio. Between gravel roads, rutted-out trails, river crossings, and mountainous terrain, your travel time is going to slow to a crawl. Even hardcore, experienced outdoorsmen find themselves covering way fewer miles than they planned.
Because of that, you have got to pad your schedule. Give yourself way more time than you think you need for navigation hiccups, surprise wildlife encounters, flat tires, sudden weather delays, brutal terrain, and honestly, just taking a break. Building in that extra flexibility doesn't just lower your blood pressure, it actually keeps you safe. When you aren't rushing, you make much better decisions when the unexpected inevitably happens.
And speaking of navigation, do not, I repeat, do not rely just on your cell phone. We already know cell reception is incredibly unreliable out there. Plus, GPS and your electronics can just totally fail on you when the weather freezes or batteries die. You need old-school backups. I'm talking paper topo maps, a physical compass, offline digital maps, and definitely a satellite communicator or locator beacon. Oh, and always tell someone back home exactly where you're going, your route, and when you plan to be back. This next one is a real game changer. Calculate your fuel super conservatively. Running out of gas out in the Alaskan bush isn't just an inconvenience, it's a catastrophic event. Your engine works way harder on rough terrain, so you'll burn gas faster. Account for detours, carry extra fuel safely, and literally never, ever assume there's another gas station just a little farther down the road. There probably isn't.
All right, you survived the journey in. Let's transition to Phase 4, inspecting the land. You finally made it to the property.
Once you're there, please don't just take a quick peek from the edge or do a drive-by. Get out there and walk as much of the parcel as you physically can. You really need to observe the elevation changes, how the water drains, the soil conditions, and the vegetation. Look for water sources, any old existing trails, and take a good, hard look at the neighboring properties. Online photos are great, sure, but they absolutely cannot replace the reality of observing the land firsthand.
And keep this in mind, a piece of land can look like a totally different planet depending on the month you visit. You simply can't ignore the seasons. In winter, the ground is frozen solid, making it super easy to travel across. But that same snow cover might completely hide a wetland, a stream, or a massive drop-off. Come summer, the brush might be so thick you can't even find the boundary markers, and spring floods can just wash out your access roads entirely. Always consider how those seasonal shifts will impact your land.
While you're out there exploring, remember you have an obligation to be a responsible visitor. Different areas have entirely different rules. You could be bordering state land, federal land, or native corporation land. You've got to know the local regulations for hunting, camping, or off-roading. Step 1, honor any posted boundaries completely. Step 2, stick to the trails and avoid tearing up fragile vegetation to make new roads. And Step 3, if you open a gate, shut it behind you. Respecting these rules protects the value of the whole area.
Which naturally leads into our final phase, respecting the environment. This is all about the ethical obligation we have to leave the wilderness exactly as we found it.
Alaska's remote beauty exists precisely because it sees so little human impact. To keep it that way, you need to follow leave no trace principles like your life depends on it. Pack out absolutely everything: food waste, trash, broken gear, you name it. Don't spill fuel near the water, and hey, remember, you are stepping into the living room of bears, moose, and wolves now. You absolutely must store your food securely and keep a squeaky clean campsite.
Seeing those animals is totally the highlight of any trip, right? But safety, for both of you, has to come first. Maintain a really safe distance. Please do not try to approach wild animals for a photograph. They can become incredibly unpredictable if they feel cornered or surprised. Keep your head on a swivel and remain super alert, especially when you're hiking through dense brush where you can't see very far ahead.
So as we bring this explainer in for a landing, the whole shebang basically boils down to this one simple truth. Preparation is your most valuable tool, period. Whether you're buying acreage or just out exploring, every responsible choice you make keeps you safe and protects the land. Careful planning is what actually allows you to soak in the breathtaking beauty around you, instead of spending your whole trip fighting off totally avoidable emergencies.
I want to leave you with this one final provocative thought to ponder before you go booking any flights. Are you truly ready for America's last great wilderness? It demands respect, a whole lot of humility, and absolute readiness. So, take the time to weigh your plans against everything we've talked about today. Do your homework, stay safe out there, and enjoy that mind-blowing rugged beauty that only remote Alaska can offer.